Welcome to another episode of The Executives. This is Priyanka, and today we have with us Mr. Salil Godika, co-founder, president, and chief strategy officer of the Happiest Minds technology. Welcome to the show, The Executives. This is Priyanka, and today we have with us Mr. Salil Godika, co-founder, president, and chief strategy officer of the Happiest Minds technologies. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank
How
you.
are you doing today?
Good, pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much. Okay, so first of all, I would like to know a little bit about your background. I'm pretty sure everybody out there is curious. So give us a little heads up about your background, what you've done to sort of get here.
Sure. So, I grew up in Jaipur, Rajasthan. So very, quite far from here. I come from a business family, so I was actually the first one to do any kind of formal engineering or doctor degree and so on and so forth. So, went to what was then known as University of Roorkee, and now it's IIT Roorkee. And as a classic way, once you do that engineering, you got to do what? Either for further studies or IIMs and so on and so forth. So I went to Boston to do my master's degree. And once you are there, what do? You, I guess, work. So worked in different kinds of companies, small and big. 2007, we had a young family, also parents and in-laws and so on. So decided to move back and have been in India since then, past 10 years.
So you've been in India for the past 10 years.
10 years now. And I worked in US in all product kind of companies, so enterprise product companies. Versus when you come back, India is obviously a lot more services. So that's
It
a big
is.
change. So I
It
worked
is.
at a company called Mindtree and then Happiest Minds.
Happiest Minds, nice. Okay, so we hear that you have about 12 years of experience in the United States. Working for different startups there and also different large product related companies. So tell us a little bit about your experience working there and also what sort of knowledge did you gain?
So one common theme that I got working there, because that was I started my first job in US, worked there, was the work ethic around being, delivering on your promises. So essentially, if you are working in a team, you promise that you will do, then do it and do it on time.
Yeah.
That was, I think, one common thing that I had in almost all my jobs, which I think is a very important thing for all the, all people at various stages of their life.
Yeah.
Now, from a flavor perspective, obviously you got to learn, how to work in an environment which is in constant flux. And that because I was in the technology business, that is always in the flux.
Yeah,
I
true.
worked in startups, which were obviously changing.
True.
So how do you figure out to do all your work when you don't have complete information and things are changing?
Yeah.
And third element is customer centricity. We could talk about all these things, how big the market is, how much money you have raised and so on and so forth. But one learning was, okay, am I delivering value to the customer? If I'm doing that, I think I'm actually doing the right thing. Else, all those things will just be there, and then after a while, we'll actually say, okay, what did I actually deliver?
True, true.
So those were some of the, big important
What
takeaways.
were any sort of culture barriers? Did you experience anything in particular, because obviously we know how things are so different in India versus abroad. So have you experienced anything like that?
I didn't, and maybe because, as I said, my first job was in US after school and college and so on and so forth. So maybe I didn't have any set ways. And frankly, now with all our jobs, what we do, a lot of our customers are in US, so there is a constant interaction. So nothing specific comes to mind to say, okay, hey, being a culture there versus here, there is so much more different.
Agree. Okay, also tell me a little bit about what do you think is the major difference between the mid-level startups in abroad versus in India?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I'll make certain judgments here. Obviously, I could, based on my knowledge, but I would say breadth of vision. See, once you get into a mid-size, you are actually trying to protect what you have already gained, right? Because you have achieved something.
Yeah.
So you probably go from playing offense to now playing defense better. But that's exactly, probably if I were to say outside, people are still thinking they are more aggressive. They are saying, okay, my vision is better. I need to, or bigger, if you will. I need to make something much more bigger than what I am. So possibly one thing is there, if I have become a mid-tier company already out here, I'm trying to protect more rather than be aggressive, which means that the roots that I came from, I've actually start to change. Because obviously as a startup, you would be fully aggressive. You got to make it or not make it. Once you're in a mid-size, you would say, hey, I have something to lose, so better be careful. I think that's a big difference I see, maybe, startups here versus there.
Versus them.
But having said that, now access to capital and all are the same. All that stuff is remains the same.
All right. So not much difference. I feel like we're getting there.
Yeah. Well, absolutely, we are getting there. I think, and these things, as I said, these are things which, to some degree, if you look at startups or really startups here in the last 2-3 years, possibly one could say, they have a bigger, wider vision than anywhere else. You dare to think big. So that is changing. And I think in the next 2-3 years, it'll be like, anywhere else. It won't matter whether you're in Bangalore or Silicon Valley.
True. Okay. So your accomplishments include incubating a product to $30 million revenue and also placing or positioning different products in the market. So tell us about what challenges did you face while doing them?
Challenges meaning I'll say what are some of the key things that come to mind. One is you have to be selling every day, every second, anytime, everywhere. And I'm not saying selling in a bad way, but explaining what's the value proposition of thing that you are trying to do. And it is not just to the end customer, obviously, but you are also trying to do to your internal employees, because you want them to join into your group. If you are in a bigger company, obviously you have your own area and others will work in some other area. And plus, to keep them motivated becomes very, very important. So, be crystal clear, you are being judged, you are selling every time, you are articulating your value every time. That's an important thing. Other things is more as a startup environment, again, I go back to the customer stuff, that can you figure out and get some initial, beachhead customers that you could work with to refine your requirements, to refine your product needs and so on and so forth. Because it is very easy for, say, us to sit in a conference room and come up with something and say, hey, this will solve the world's hunger problem and so on and so forth.
Yeah, true.
But till there is actual validation, you don't know. So it's important, I would give my arms and limbs to actually get some initial validation. It's that important.
Oh, wow.
Because once you actually get it, you know that you're on the right path. So that's the kind of iteration that, in all of these we learn. The other is, in couple of these areas, I actually went into new product areas that were not done before. So it means, not just, obviously explaining to the customer why this is of thing, but also to the broader market. And broader market could be the analyst ecosystem. How do you explain that? How do you get them to actually see this? Because the biggest thing you can do in this business is that you can sell your idea to a bigger analyst and let them champion it. Let them create the space, and you are actually just a provider in it. So all those things became very, very important if you have to, say, recharter a new part to a product or come up with a new product line and so on and so forth. Figure out what you're trying to sell, get some early leads, try to sell everywhere, and make sure the ecosystem of analysts are behind.
So selling is a pretty important part of it, isn't it?
Well, I'll say one thing in some of these, in my stint there, if at the end of the year we didn't have enough revenue or we didn't have a path to that, we wouldn't be getting funding for our internal teams. So it was as simple as, almost life or death. If I'm not able to sell, I'm not able to show my revenue pipeline, then I would not be getting clearance to hire or whatever sustain my existing team. So it is like,
so
either figure it out
dies.
A company dies, or in this case, I'm giving an example where we were actually trying to build things in a bigger company. So the company already had some mature product lines. We are trying to do some newer products in that area. Now, to get funding for that, internal funding, you need to make sure that you are able to justify it through market traction.
All right.
Now, if I would also say if happens to be a startup, then obviously it is straight away. Either you have the money or you don't.
Or you don't.
And one of my, as part of it, I did a startup in RFID space. And essentially, we had some early customers, not much paying, but more as a proof of concept. We had some good discussions going on, but unfortunately we just ran out of money. Period. So that was it, and that was that .com time. That is, it wasn't as if that people were going to continue to fund you. So that was it.
Wow. Okay. So what do you think is the more important part, the selling or the idea?
Idea, clearly.
Clearly the idea.
Clearly the idea. Don't lose focus on what. And again, when I say the idea, means what's the customer value? What problem is it solving? Because that's the other part, and that's why I'm saying when we think of selling, we think of convincing somebody. Not like selling means, are you able to articulate the business problem it's solving? Because it isn't solving something, then it is not sustainable. So that idea is important. Then obviously you need to decide now how you're going to position and so on and so forth. Are you also selling to the right person? You know, because and typically, at least I have grown up in most of the enterprise sales. So you have to figure out where is the need and who's the right person for it.
All right.
So,
Wow.
but clear the idea. No question.
I thought you'd probably be like selling, but I'm like, no, idea. So the hero is the idea.
Hero, I mean, the sum and substance of it is the idea and the business problem that that idea is solving.
All right, nice. So with these challenges, how did you cope with them? Or what did you take away from them? Did you learn something?
I hope so. See, and I go back to the earlier point, which is how to work in a flux, how to make a decision when you don't know enough information.
Yeah.
And a saying, you know, which I read is really ingrained and etched in my mind, is Colin Powell made a statement, or he actually has a rule called 40-70 rule. Essentially, what he says is that if you wait till you get 70% more or information about a certain decision you need to make, you are already too late. That means don't wait so much to get like 100% of the information about a situation. Don't make a decision when you have less than 40% of the information also. So what you got to do, you got to make a decision between when you have information which is 40% to 70%. So what it means is that make a decision, whatever that might be, in a flux environment. Don't wait for 100% validation, because if that happens, means that your competition has already moved ahead.
Wow.
Because once it was 70%, they would have taken a decision and done.
And done it. Wow. Okay. So, you did your bachelor's degree from IIT and then went back and did your master's at the Boston University. So, what did you take away from each of these experiences and how have you used them in your career?
So obviously the undergrad experience in Roorkee is it just, I would say, builds your character because so many core stuff that you are learning which you have not learned, and obviously you are being taught all those, and also the chance to be with other similar people out there in your as the students and so on and so forth. So clearly it sets the base.
Yeah.
Now you got to work hard, you got to actually see the problem, you need to see how it is solved, you need to bring different things together. Now from a master's perspective, what it was I felt that there was much more flexibility in terms of you could pursue different things. There was also more interaction with the industry out there. So it is not as if that you are doing a lot of theoretical exercises only.
Yeah.
You're trying to go out there and seeing how am I applying it. So it became very, very important. So good balance, and probably it's the right one, because when you're trying to do bachelor's, you need to build your foundations.
Yeah.
When you're trying to do your master's, you're trying to actually figure out how it is applicable to the world. Or you're also trying to come up with a very specific, deep pinpointed area and learning a lot more about it.
Wow. So in India, you'd say education here is more theory based, and in abroad it's more practical.
Yeah, but I want to be careful, because we are comparing probably apples to oranges, right? We are comparing a bachelor's degree here versus a master's degree here. But in a scheme of things, yes, and I think we all know it, right? Because here we are trying to figure out more specific way of doing things, possibly less flexibility, but we know that that path works. There we probably have the luxury of trying to do much more different things, trying to bring, let's say, interdisciplinary things together.
All right.
And I do think in future world that's an important thing, because when we are trying to solve the problems that are ahead, we would need to have knowledge of multiple areas to put the dots together.
Yeah, it makes sense actually.
Yeah.
But if you would have by chance done your bachelor's abroad, do you think it would sort of be...
Well, I mean, I can go back, time travel, do it, and then let you know. but no, I think that was the right thing. Because I think that foundation was important, the way we do it here.
Yeah.
The other one was important at that. So it was the right team at that. Both of them, I wouldn't change it.
You wouldn't change it.
Yeah.
Cool. Good to know.
Yeah.
All right. So, how did the idea of Happiest Minds technology emerge, and what was the motivation behind it?
So our executive chairman, Mr. Ashok Soota, he came up with the idea back in 2011. And the thought process was, look, we are going to do something where we are going to focus on these newer technologies. At that time, they were called SMAC, Social Mobile Analytics Cloud. Since then, obviously, it has increased. and we added security also in it.
All right.
And yes, one could question, does the world need any more IT services company, because we have so many?
Yeah.
But his thought was that, look, there is going to be a scope for a big IT services company which is going to be focused only on these technologies. And obviously now, 6 years later, we have gone from 0 to 2,400 people, 150 plus active customers. So that bet has proven.
Yeah.
But that's the whole story, how it came out. Obviously, it has gone through different journeys. What it started as SMAC is now digital transformation. Actually, I would say that we actually have a reverse problem. Everybody and anybody has jumped in this area. So it makes it more difficult, right? Because there is lots of noise in that. Everybody is claiming to be what it is. And we probably were among the, few or only ones which were born in digital and were only conceived to do this stuff, nothing else.
All right. Would you say there's a lot of competition in the area?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. Huge competition in the last few years, because this has caught on so fast that everybody, or maybe the mature players also, will just slap the word digital transformation and say, hey, I'm in this business. So, and as I was saying, the problem with that is a lot of noise, which to some degree makes it difficult now to understand who's actually doing what, and so on and so forth. But that's part of the business, and to some degree it's good, right? Competition puts you and pushes you to do better.
I agree. So you'd rather have it than not have it?
Oh, absolutely, no question. We would rather be in the middle of this perfect storm than rather saying, oh, it's a calm area, cool area, but nothing much is happening.
Nothing much is happening.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice. Tell us a little bit about the vision of the Happiest Minds technology.
So for us, our mission statement is clear and direct. Happiest people, happiest customers.
All right.
Period. That's what it is. So which is really, it is constantly reminds us that we are in the business of making our customers happy through our happy employees. It's a very clear articulation. All our philosophy, our culture is built on it.
Wow.
Focus on, because IT services as such had become a factory model.
Yeah.
Lots of people come in, do it, and so we were thinking how to do this differently, how to bring that culture change.
Yeah.
So that's an element. That's why once you bring it as your mission statement, you start to live it, breathe it. Obviously, it's not as if that it's like one-time goal. You have to do every day. Those are the journey that we are on.
So once you have it out there written, you start to believe in it, and then you start to follow that path and start doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not just do. We have got, to bring this further, we have got specific frameworks that we follow around all these two. We actually do surveys around those things. We have something called Happiness Evangelism program. So what it is that, look, no company can make anybody else happy or an employee happy. It's our choice, but it can provide an enabling environment.
Okay.
So in that, also what you don't measure, that it will not happen. So what do you really do? We actually, in all our variables, 20% of our variable is tied to a thing called HEI, Happiness Evangelism Index. Means, and I'm going to be rated on that 360 degree through my peers, my manager, my subordinates, so on and so forth. And based on my score, I'm going to get 20% of my variable is tied to that. So it's a very important thing, because we are actually now putting where the money is kind of.
Yeah.
So if you're scoring well, very good. If you're not, you're actually getting dinged on your variable part.
Wow.
So to help that, we have got various systems, processes, elements that come in.
Like you mentioned, for the Happiest Minds technologies, obviously customer review and customer satisfaction is very important.
Yeah.
So is there anything specific or special that you do for them?
Yeah, so I think in any case, see, our business customers is the lifeblood.
Yeah.
Because it's not as if that you go and acquire everyday new customers.
Yeah.
You actually build on them, mine them, work deeper with them, build deeper relationship. In any case, as we said, that is what our job is, to make the customer happy.
Yeah.
Because many times they have actually given us very mission critical work. So if we don't make them happy, their work also is suffering.
Yeah, agree.
So in that context, what we do is really a very detailed, regular annual surveys.
Okay.
And also obviously there is periodic project closure feedback and so on and so forth, oral, written and so on. But as a system, there is an annual survey. And what happens is that comes back, goes through various stages. You know, we have got multiple meetings on it when we do like what are the action items, what actions are we taking, did we take those actions, you know, get from customer what went well, what didn't go well, so on and so forth. Very, very comprehensive stuff.
Yeah, like a lot of detailed study.
Detailed study to do correlation between, okay, hey, with this, look, I'm seeing this result. So we can actually see results that, hey, we did well on something. 6 months later, as we will see the, you know, reflection of that on the surveys and so on and so forth. Or if we didn't do a good job on something, we'll start to see it in 6 months later. So very important. And this gets percolated to everybody in the system. So it's not the executive management seeing it.
Yeah.
The thing that we track is called NPS, Net Promoter Score.
All right.
And that is tied to the, you know, to the executive management's KRAs to say, okay, you know, we need to have certain level of score. So that there is also a way for us to say, okay, no, we know externally we have a benchmark, how we are scoring on NPS.
Yeah.
So I would say, you know, again, and my theme in this, at least if I were to say one thing, is focus on customers and also make sure that what you're delivering, they are adding value.
All right.
And the rest, everything will happen.
You was talking about benchmarks. Salil, so even now, do you go ahead and set benchmarks for yourself?
Well,
I want to know.
Yeah. Without benchmark, you don't know how well you're doing, right?
Yeah.
Because again, it's a very simple thing, and it's human thing, right? If I'm not measuring myself, I might slip, or I might not even slip, but I might be in an area of I might not push myself enough. So benchmark is important, baselining is important to say where you are, how am I going to, and then not just that, you know, having those action items to say, okay, now how am I going to fix it? Okay, because there is an element also, right? Many times it happens that I did the right thing, result didn't come. Fair enough.
Yeah.
But I need to actually know what actions did I take.
Yeah.
Because if I didn't do it, then in any case nothing is happening. You know, I have a favorite saying, hope is not a strategy.
Okay.
So I'm saying if I just say, oh, I will improve in this area, or I'll make my numbers in this area, or I'll deliver value to this customer without actually doing things, then I'm relying on hope. And I don't think that's a strategy.
That's not a strategy.
Yeah.
All right. Because I thought, you know, once you reach a area, usually some people think, you know what, that person probably doesn't do much, or you know what, it's done. So the person probably just sits and supervises and doesn't get any work done. I feel like that's how people normally think. So
it's possible. I need to check the feedback.
So yeah, it was important for me and also for them to know that, you know what, once you reach a level, that's just not it. You have to constantly work to stay at that level and grow even more.
Yeah, it's like, you know, yeah, I guess everything in life, right? You got to work for it and work continuously, because I wish it was like once you reach it, you stay there.
You stay there, you don't.
You don't.
You have to work pretty hard to stay there.
Hard, yeah.
All right. So what are the core ethics of Happiest Minds technologies?
See, as I said, you know, the happiness part, I'll go back to the culture and also how it manifests. One of the thing is that I talked about the happiness evangelism thing.
Yeah.
I think we are the only company who's doing it. We actually have a role inside the company and a person who's called the happiness evangelist.
Oh.
Dedicated role only for this, and that we had from day one. Day one.
I didn't know there was something that like that even existed.
Yes, exactly. I think you know, she's an incredible person. Has helped us a lot across the board. So that's there. But from a culture perspective, one theme that we have, and these are, see, I'll encourage everybody to think of their own culture, own ethos, because you can't just copy somebody. So you have to say, well, hey, I believe in it. This comes from it.
This comes from it.
So one of our thing is the aspect of gratitude.
Yeah.
So I'll give you an example. When we start all our meetings, we actually go around and see if anybody wants to say 1 or 2 lines on what they are grateful about today. Simple.
Yeah.
It could very well be that, hey, there was no traffic and I came on time or whatever.
Yeah.
But simple thing. And what research has shown is that by articulating that itself, that changes the tone or tenor of that meeting. So that's an important thing that is there for us. Similarly, we have a concept. There is a platform called I Appreciate. When somebody does a small thing for you, send them a message saying, "Hey, I appreciate."
I appreciate.
It's an automated thing, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So very small these things, which just builds a culture of gratitude in the company. And I think all this probably you don't need when things are going great and all. You know, all these problems. But when you need the team to bond together, then all these things come very, very
Common. How important is team development at Happiest Minds Technologies?
So as I said, more so at any place, if you've been, as you work together with people, obviously you become, closer and all those things. But we were a startup, and obviously people came from different aspects of life, different stages of life. They would have different backgrounds and so on and so forth. So team bonding was always very important. And we do all our stuff from a culture perspective, especially on the award side of things. We who should get the award and so on and so forth, the spot awards, the team awards, we push it down in the system.
Yeah.
Because the people down there, the project managers and all, would know better who and when it should be given.
Yeah.
So the team aspect is very important. The bonding aspect, I think we have, you can see from the setting also that we have got, lots of what we call joy events.
Yeah.
Where people will do different things, and that is organic, because I don't think an executive level you could say, hey, do these 5 things.
Yeah.
It's organically the team will say, hey, now this thing is coming, let us organize this event. This festival is coming, let's organize this, and so on and so forth.
So on and so forth. There's also a lot of greenery here.
Yeah, green obviously, and goes back to our happiness aspect is health.
Health, yeah.
So wellness is an important thing for us. So we actually have got systems where, yoga, tai chi, those kinds of things, desktop yoga we all do, and, trainers come in, because we believe that happiness, again, one is a state of mind, but health is an important aspect.
Important aspect.
Because that really, so.
Nice.
Yeah.
Also, Happiest Mind doing anything in terms of giving back to the environment?
So we actually have 2 things. One is we give meals to Akshay Patra.
Okay.
So and that is essentially number of meals given when we have hit certain milestones, and in our terminology, the milestones we call them smile stones.
Okay.
So that's what it is, and that milestones could be reaching certain number of revenue, reaching certain number of customers, and so on and so forth, whatever business metrics that we have defined for us. So every time that happens, we give these meals out. So I'll tell you that we had a goal of 1 million. When we started, we said we will give out 1 million meals by the time we were by 2018 or 19 or something. And as we sit here, we are almost, we are going to vastly exceed that. We are almost touching that.
Wow.
So that's an important thing. 1 million meals given in our 6-year journey. So it's a very, very important
It is.
thing. We have also started just August was our 6th year anniversary of the company. So we have started a Happiest Minds Foundation, so which will also start to do much of the CSR activities.
Very nice, very nice.
Yeah.
So coming back, okay, tell me, what is the major difference between Happiest Minds Technologies and other IT firms?
See, as I was saying, if I were to do one thing, it's our laser focus on disruptive technologies. As I said, when we started, we said this is the only thing that we will do. There are lots of business that would come about in the traditional thing, in ERP stuff. We said we can't do, that's not our competence. Said we will build expertise in this, and then added things like IoT and so on and so forth as time went on. But our thing is, our purpose of being, if you will, is to figure out if we can drive digital transformation using these disruptive technologies. So really, in the scheme of things, that's what the sum and substance for us is. But coupled with what we like to say, disruptive culture. So if you have to remember one thing, it's disruptive in the technology space, disruptive in the culture space.
So nice. All right. Okay, what are the critical aspects that you would consider if you want to expand?
So, and I'll give a broader answer. Generally, if you are trying to expand in a business, right, what do? You first look at the market potential out there.
Yeah.
How much is the potential?
Yeah.
Right? Because if it isn't there, then you better be careful why you are getting into this. Second thing is, you better be very, very careful about your own ability to execute.
Yeah.
Because you got to know what your core competence is. Look, I might want to go and tomorrow build, rocket to the Mars. Why not? Right? There's a great market, so on and so forth. But do I have the competence? No, I don't. So better be careful around that. Third element is, if it is an existing business, let's figure out, can I sell my existing stuff also into this newer area? So suddenly then what I'm getting is a double, triple effect.
Yeah.
It's A plus B is equal to much more. Those kinds of things.
Yeah.
And lastly, this is a very, very critical thing, culture match. Am I getting into a business model? Am I getting into a business which is conducive to my current culture? If it isn't, Don't bother. It might be a great market. It might have, you know, huge potential, but hey, as a culture-wise, there isn't any fit.
Yeah.
So we won't do it.
So if you'd want to do something, you'd really have to believe in it. You'd have to believe that, you know what, this is the right thing for you to do, culture-wise, or your belief-wise. So that is a very important aspect, I believe.
Yeah, that is an important thing. You know, look, when you're trying to do a startup, I think the number one thing is self-belief.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to go and convince other people that this is success, if you're going to get other people to join you, you better at least be convinced about it. And convinced doesn't mean that you're not rethinking every day and tweaking every day, but that core self-belief that yes, this can be made successful.
All right, very nice. True. Okay, so I wanted to know, in terms of what are the future plans of Happiest Minds Technologies?
I think, look, the area we are in is, as I use the word disruptive, it is, and companies in our space is getting disrupted. So it's not as if that we are sitting here and disrupting, you know, or providing disruptive technologies to others. We better be not, you know, complacent.
Yeah.
So what I mean by that is look at the space that is moving, the AI, robotic process automation, so on and so forth. It just came back, you know, came from nowhere past 2 years and suddenly it's mainstream.
Yeah.
So, and our customers are asking for it. So for us, the biggest challenge and the opportunity is to remain current, to make sure that if we are in this disruptive journey, we are incorporating new technologies. Else this will become, you know, the yesteryear of the technology and so on and so forth. So that's our journey, but overall what we are trying to do is we are trying to build a bigger institution, and our end goal more from a roadmap on the financial journey perspective is a successful IPO.
Yeah.
Right now, that's the thing. Successful IPO, be the fastest company to reach $100 million run rate in an IT services environment.
That's a lot.
Those kinds of things. And we are almost there within striking distance.
All right.
So those are some of our immediate goals. As a broad one, as I said, we'll continue to do what we are doing, but in the change world.
You know, by what you're saying, it seems that, you know, every day it's changing, it's growing. Every day there's something or the other that's happening, you know, technology-wise. I feel like we're...
yeah. That's, I mean, you know, think of it, you know, the smartphones just arrived.
Yeah.
Just, you know, you can imagine, we all remember the world of non-smartphone and, you know, this.
Yeah.
So that's happening. And that's the fun aspect, right? You come in at work, you know, you have to learn new things every day.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, when I see our people, you know, the amount of online learning, self-learning they do is amazing. And that's great to see, right?
Yeah.
It isn't as if that they are waiting to go to some formal training courses or classes or some tutor is coming. They themselves will go online, figure it out, new stuff. And I think that's just a very different thing from when I grew up in a way. It was so formal, would wait all this, totally different world right now.
Totally different world. Do you feel like there'll ever be a time where, you know what, we will not need humans anymore, everything will be done by the machines?
We'll always be the owner of those.
Right.
So not anytime soon.
That's right.
But who knows? If I knew that answer, then I think.
Agreed. All right. Okay. So tell us what your opinion is about the IT revolution and digitalization in India, and what are the pros and cons?
Look, when I see this, obviously there are cons for every approach in a short term, right? We can find because, and again, to me, if you are waiting for the perfect answer to emerge, you are waiting too long. So I'm saying as a digital India and the initiatives, you know, the whole government is taking, and we are on the path right on. Because at the heart of it, I feel that this will democratize the access for information to everybody.
Yeah.
And information and education is what leads to success in life.
Yeah.
And I am saying, and I think, you know, probably we have two strata of whatever elites and versus people who are just trying to make something.
Yeah.
This is the way for them to disrupt and become bigger.
Yeah.
So if you have knowledge, if you have access to it, you know, look at the number of startups now that are coming from tier 2, tier 3 cities.
Yeah.
Nobody is saying, hey, it has to be Bangalore based to be successful.
Yeah.
So, and that wouldn't have happened if these things are not there. So this is the basic infrastructure. There will be growing pains. It will take time. But, you know, X years from now, we'll say, oh, country is totally changed because of that.
I've learned a lot from you today, Salil. I must say a lot about just what the company is doing, IT, even generally, culture-wise also, just what your beliefs should be, how to make you know, a company successful, how to start up. Okay, so quickly, let's have you talk to our viewers and give a message to probably the young entrepreneurs out there who are looking at some sort of guidance when they're thinking of starting their own company?
Okay, so I'll say this is a very important thing for me is have an action bias. Do something, don't wait for all information to emerge, make a bet. And that's the other aspect, bet taking. You got to do things and also decide what you're not going to do. So, that's an important thing. And again, I reiterate, don't wait for a customer to tell you what you need to do. Make a bet, then go and try and iterate and fail fast or whatever, be successful. Second thing, I have a very, very important thing is, block out all the noise, but do your job. Because we have all these things coming in, hey, do this, do that, know this. Okay, my other team member is not doing it. I'm a very firm believer, do your own job and trust your team to do their own job and just block that other noise. So, truly if these two things happen, I feel everything else comes through together.
Fall in place. Nice. All right, so we have a very quick round for you right now.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure you've anticipated throughout for this.
No, I haven't, but
you
anyway.
Haven't? Okay, quickly we'll start. So what I'll do is I'll put you on the spotlight and I'll ask you a few questions and you have to answer them as quickly as you possibly can.
Okay.
What is the one advice that you've gotten so far that has really helped you and you'd like to share that with other people as well?
So, it's an important thing. Success or failure lies within. Do not look for other people to, say, hey, this didn't happen because of this person, or if only this changed, I would do something. It's a state of mind. We got to decide whether we are successful or not, we are happy or not. So, net, state of mind. State of mind,
great. All right. What is your definition of an entrepreneur?
And I've told that before, one who's ready to take risks. Simple, in whichever. And I think we might do that in our personal lives or whatever. When we are ready to take a risk, that's the single most element of an entrepreneur.
All right. IIT or Boston University?
Oh, that's a tough question. I'll still say, IIT Roorkee, because it just shaped me as a person.
Yeah, so if you get your foundation right, you can do anything anywhere.
Yes.
So that's the most important part. Okay. So EMC or I2 Technologies?
So, those are, and I2, just because I was there for a longer period of time and I saw the changes that were happening and I'm passionate about some of the value delivery discussions we had there.
All right. So personally, your business decisions will be based on your experience or intuition? What is more important?
See, I think it's tough to say. I wish it was more intuition, but I think it's more, that is, I wish it was there, but I think I might overthink too many things. And when you overthink, you're actually bringing your experience in that.
I would actually think it's probably intuition. I don't know why. I thought probably you'll answer intuition.
I'm saying experience. I would like to, but I'm saying to me, the intuition means that you are not thinking too much. You're going with your gut, but I'm saying I would think too much, look at data, and which means it's experience.
Yeah, agreed. Super. So what is Bangalore for you?
Home.
All right. Any business decisions that you've regret taking?
Obviously there are hindsight. If I say I had no such thing, then that would be probably, that means there has to be some spectacular thing. Every day there are things out there. Every day, things that you did on a product roadmap. Think if you say, went in and did some deal, did some alliances, did some acquisition, made a bet in a certain area. Lots of them.
All right. What is Happiest Minds for you?
Home.
Home again. All right. Okay, last question. So, describe your journey in Happiest Minds in 3 words.
And I'll still say state of being.
State of being. Very nice. Super. Thank you so much, Salil, for taking time out from your busy schedule and meeting us today. It was a pleasure talking to you. At the end of this, I feel like I've learned a lot. I feel inspired. I want to become an entrepreneur now. I want to go out there and start my own business is what I'm thinking.
Thank you, Priyanka, and then don't blame me later.
I won't. Super, it was nice meeting you. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for watching this episode of The Executives with us. I'll see you again next time with another interesting episode. Till then, this is Priyanka signing off. You're watching YTV, it's your channel.